Sure. 60 years deep, still fighting the chain. Different time, same system, same pain. One step forward, two steps back, but we still move, can't fade to black. They tell us wait, but we waited enough. The road's been long and the climb's been tough. From cotton fields to concrete blocks, we build the dream while they change the locks.
We rise up, hands high for the people. Rise up, justice and love make it equal. Hope still burning, can't kill that flame. We march in unity, remember the name. Rise up, hands high for the people. Rise up, justice and love make it equal. Hope still burning, can't kill that flame. We march in unity.
Greetings, my dear friends. Welcome back to Apex Ascend. This is where we teach lions how to rise and roar. You are that lion, so we want you to go out there and make your voices be heard. I am your host, Rodney LaBruce, and today's episode is about a topic we've heard growing up. And I know you all heard saying that you go to school and get good grades and graduate from college. Success will follow, almost like it's automatic. And I know that sounds simple, doesn't it? But for too many people, especially minorities, especially Black and brown Americans, especially Black men, well, that promise just doesn't quite hold up. So I want to talk today about the myth that education alone can erase discrimination. Because while education is important and can open up doors, it doesn't change what's on the other side of those doors. So let's start with a quote from Carter G. Woodson and The Miseducation of the Negro. He said that when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. When you read that, that line kind of hits deep because for generations, we've been told that if we just follow the formula, if we just educate ourselves, get educated, stay out of trouble, work hard, then we'll make it. And yes, education does matter, like I said. It does matter that we stay out of trouble and we work hard. But those things by themselves, education alone, is not going to save you from a system that was never built for you in the first place. In fact, there is a sociologist named Devah Pager that proved this point years ago. She sent out nearly identical resumes to employers, and she only changed two details. She changed the applicant's race and whether they had a criminal record. And the results were really quite disturbing. White men with a felony record got more callbacks than Black men with clean records. Now let that sink in. A white man with a known conviction had a better chance, a better shot of getting hired than a Black man who did everything right to that point. And I came up with this story a while back, and maybe now is a good time to fill you in or let you hear it. One day, a man was walking through the woods, and he came across a few twigs that were scattered on the ground. These twigs were harmless on their own, so he gathered them and tied them together to build bird cage. Now, he left that bird cage right there in the middle of the forest where it had no business being. So days later, birds began to get trapped inside of that man-made bird cage. All the while, the door to the cage never closed. So one by one, the birds who were once trapped eventually found their way out. All but one little bird. So while this bird was stuck in the cage, all the other birds flew past and they soared all free and carefree and wild. So on this particular day, two men walking by, each saying to the bird, "Bird, why is this one still in there? The door is wide open." And they pointed and they laughed and they ridiculed that bird. And then they walked away. But finally, another man came along. And instead of blaming the bird, he asked a more important question. He asked, "Why is this cage here in the first place?" So he tore it down piece by piece. And then the bird went free. And that's what poverty is today. It's a cage built from little twigs scattered on the ground. Systems that were intentionally designed to put together. Twig by twig, they were of no harm. But when you combine the twigs, they become a cage. These are policies, these are practices, these are institutions that together trap entire generations inside. And yeah, some people escape and look back wondering why others haven't. But the real question isn't why those birds remain in the cage, why those people still remain entrapped. The real question is, why do the systems that created the cage still exist at all? Because poverty doesn't belong here in the wild, in a world that's meant for freedom. These systems that have come together don't belong there in the first place. So I want you to remember that story the next time someone says, well, just get another job, or why is that person unemployed, or why is this person homeless, or whatever, blah, 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 blah. We blame the bird in the cage. But I'm asking, and I'm asking all of us to just tear the cage down. I know that everyone else is out there living their best lives, fully employed, housed, all of their cares taken care of. At this moment, I couldn't quite care less because it's not the individuals that I'm concentrating on. It's that system. It's the cage that does not belong here in the first place. So when you hear the story of these people, like fake resumes, story of the white man who had a conviction, better shot at getting a job than a black man who had no conviction. When you hear those kind of stories, those aren't isolated at all. Because another story compared graduates from elite schools like Harvard and Yale and Stanford, the good ones, to white applicants from less known universities. They compared these individuals who graduated from Harvard and Yale and Stanford. The white applicants from the lesser known universities still got more callbacks than black applicants from the elite schools like the Harvard and the Yales and the Stanfords. So what does that tell us? It tells us that education still cannot erase bias. Problem isn't in the degree. The problem or the perception is with who's holding it. William Julius Wilson, a respected sociologist, once talked about soft skills, things like communication and professionalism, and how they affect employability. And while those skills are important, too often they're judged through biased lens. Because what's seen as confident in one person might be called aggressive in another. And what's seen or considered polished in one culture might come off as a little too much in another. And when hiring decisions are usually based on who seems like a good fit, that often translates to who seems to act and look like us. So we've seen that convictions don't matter. We've seen that the school or university that we go to don't matter. Even when Black professionals break through, they're often forced to work twice as hard just to get half as far. They face more scrutiny, they get fewer promotions, and they have less mentorship. And the data, well, it backs this up. Black college graduates still earn less than their white peers with the same degrees. So, no, education isn't the problem. The problem is how society rewards it and who it rewards. So, this is why we have to move beyond just the personal achievement and start demanding institutional accountability. We need blind resume reviews, transparent pay structures. We need diverse interview panels. We need clear promotion standards. Because if talent is truly what we value, we have to make sure it isn't hidden behind bias. And we need to start being honest with young people. You go to school, learn as much as you can, but also know this: your value doesn't come from how close you can get to someone else's version of a professional. We want you to be excellent, but we also want you to be yourself because authenticity is not weakness, it's strength. So Carter G. Woodson warned us about control through misinformation. When people believe that success depends only on education, or it depends only on the fact of whether or not you have conviction in your past. They stop questioning the system that blocks opportunity. And the myth that a degree is going to protect you from racism, well, that's one of the most subtle ways society keeps control. It turns systemic failure into personal blame. But once you see it for what it is, you can't unsee it. And that's where real change begins. So here's the takeaway: education is powerful, but it's not the finish line. It's one little bitty piece of a much bigger fight for equality and for dignity. We need policies that match our potential, and we need to build systems like the ones we're working on in District 30 that create real access to opportunity. And that's what this movement is all about: taking back power, not waiting for permission. But before I go, I want to highlight something that happened this past week. Trump recently said that everything is affordable again. And this was in response to the blue wave that happened on the election day across the country this past week. And don't get it twisted. Democrats were elected into office as a direct response to Trumpism. People are standing up and speaking out against him. And what we're doing is working. We just need to keep the pressure on and keep speaking out. Well, Democrats this time had a simple message that seemed to get across to voters. And that message was the fact that things are simply not affordable anymore. So Trump sees this as an opportunity to spread misinformation and say, well, Thanksgiving dinner this year is going to be cheaper than it was last year. This is what he said. Never mind that this year's comparison to last year included only 15 items, while last year's list had 21. Never mind that he based his comments on comments made by Walmart, not an independent source, but Walmart. And never mind that the items that were used on this 15 item list, well, they weren't even the same as last year. This year, the list used generic store brands. Last year, they used name brand items. So he kind of left all of that out. That's not a real price drop. It's a numbers trick. Because while the headlines might look better, the people who actually shop, cook, pay the bills, we know the truth. Groceries are still high. Electricity is high. Wages hadn't kept up. In District 30, we here, we're not looking for just affordability anymore. We're looking to take back our power, our money, and our influence so that we can afford the cost, even if the product is not on sale. That's what we're doing. I'm Rodney LaBruce, and this has been Apex Ascend. Remember, we don't wait for the system to fix itself. We build a new one.
We've come too far to lose our
If today's episode spoke to you, can you share it?
too many names,
Can
too
you
many
subscribe? More importantly, can you join the movement?
graves. In our
Can you join us at LaBruceForCongress.com? Reach out,
we don't move, who will pay
volunteer,
the way?
donate,
No more
all that good
silence,
stuff.
no more fear.
Every dollar
Hear the
counts.
voice they tried not to
Every
hear.
minute makes a
Every dream
difference.
that was torn
Till next time, keep rising, keep roaring,
apart.
keep making those voices heard,
Flicker and fade,
pressure
faith
felt.
don't die, it just gets remade from the
Keep changing lives.
to the mountaintop.
I'll holler.
Movement rises, it won't stop.
We rise up, hands high for the people. Rise up, justice and love, make it equal. Hope still burning, can't kill that flame. We march in unity, remember the name. Rise up,
Voices in the fire, dreams don't fade, they climb higher. One step forward, we'll never turn back. Together we rise, that's a matter of fact. Yeah, that's a matter of fact. Yeah.